Nerdrotic.com.
The first question is, you have to disassociate from Geeks and Gamers right now, as Hollywood people do. So are you prepared to do that right now?
Absolutely. I disassociate.
Yes. Alex, I have been a fan of yours for a long, long time. I remember when you were calling in Art Bell from hotel rooms. That's the first time I remember hearing you. And I've been, yeah.
Oh, was that like when the alarm went off at the Bilderberg Hotel?
Yes.
I've been listening for, gosh, that was like 16 years ago or something.
Yes, it was. And, rest in peace, Art Bell. I miss that guy so much. But, yeah, ever since then, I've been following you. I kind of thought you were the expert in all conspiracies. And it was, if anything, it was entertaining. I always found it entertaining.
Exactly. It's not so entertaining now that it all came true.
No.
Dang it.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be fiction.
Yes. That's the thing. How do you feel every time it trends that Alex Jones was right now? Like, it's happening a lot more often
Every
now.
other day.
And I know your audience
I
must
wish,
boost
I mean,
every
I wish
time.
that I was wrong. And sometimes I am wrong. So many things have been staged. So many things have been fake. Sometimes stuff is as they say it is. So, 10 years ago, I'm like, everything's fake. But over time, I've learned some things turn out to be kind of like they said. But usually there's so many groups jumping on something and PR firms that they twist whatever really happened in a big event. And then a lot of times it really is, the CIA or another group, actually staging a terror attack or blowing up Building 7. 20 years ago tomorrow, you have 2 World Trade Centers that get blown up. I believe in radical Islam. They were certainly involved, but just like the CIA was involved in the 70s, funding the Taliban, and then again through the 80s, and then again on the week after 9/11, they flew out 30,000 Taliban fighters in the Kunduz airlift, the airlift of evil, and then now they brought them back in and given them the country, and the State Department says they're doing a great job, basically. And so that's an example of shadow government, Saudi Arabia, British intelligence, for the last 120 years running the whole jihadi Wahhabist movement. And so the whole Afghan thing really is about, after 20 years of stealing $2 trillion of taxpayer money, the deep state has now abandoned the whole country to China and the Taliban. But that's the way it always was. Well, they did one-sided trade deals with China to deindustrialize America. It's a globalist group running America into the ground on purpose. And once you know that, it all makes sense.
Yep.
And these are things that
makes a lot of sense.
It makes a lot of sense over the last, I would say, year or so, mostly. Yeah. And I think that's where I've seen a lot of what I would call normies come over to at least start listening. And it's we do something on a completely different level here, Alex. We talk about pop culture. We talk about woke Hollywood and CRT training at Disney now. And this is all.
Oh yeah, no, guys, I've seen clips of the show, and I've watched. You guys all have your own shows, so I've watched some of those as well. I've been watching you guys for at least about 2 years.
Oh, thanks, man. That blows my mind. That blows my mind.
I'm in a lot of trouble. Actually, I hate you. And you can say to me, because Facebook
disavow, Alex.
And the AI reads the transcript first. You need to say, Alex is a horrible fake news person. He should go to a FEMA camp, and then they'll push it to the top of the algorithm. Let's say it together. Alex Jones is a horrible person. Free speech is bad. Vitamins and minerals are bad. America's bad. The borders are bad. And
Orange Man's bad.
People are inherently bad and evil.
Well, that's a given.
That was one.
That's a given.
That's number one trending.
CNN again. You've been watching CNN. Come on.
Absolutely. Yeah. 10 years ago, you could find a Graham Hancock speech, a UFO video, an Alex Jones clip. Your channel was still around. And now all of that is gone. And, I'm doing research for the show. Yeah, I actually do research for the show. And I watch Alex on InfoWars, and I wanted to see an interview. I wanted to see a couple of interviews with Alex, and all I saw was, I just put Alex Jones in. It's all CNN shit. That's all it is. It's
yep.
They force feed it. What you got to do is you got to click date and look at today, this week, whatever. Then there's all this cool stuff. But exactly, it's all rigged, just like Google. After Trump won, they broke Google, and now it's whoever pays for results go to the top. And it's not like SEO or something where you pay to artificially but still naturally manipulate your thing to the top. They just rig it. Like I noticed starting about 4 years ago, used to show all the gas stations, all the restaurants on Google when you were driving down the road. Now it only shows the ones that pay. So, I mean, again, it's all rigged now.
It used to be about being the most relevant, and then it became where instead of boosting the most correct answer, they also started deboosting content of answers that they didn't like. It was
blacklisting.
Yeah.
Suppression.
It started with the KKK, and everybody's like, well, I don't like them, so fine. I didn't like them either. And then next it was Alex Jones, and now it's Rand Paul gives a speech and says, natural immunity in Israeli study is 13 times better, which is a fact. He's reading the Jerusalem Post, and YouTube said, nope, that's not the UN. You're not allowed to speak. And they censored Senate speeches. And I agree. I think he should be put in prison for that. How dare him read out of the newspaper out of Israel? In fact, maybe he should be indicted. I'm a YouTube.
That's what I say.
I'm a YouTube person.
That's right. Alex redemption arc.
Yes.
But it's true. Once, especially 2016, and the mainstream media truly panicked because alternative media completely overshadowed their influence. That's when they went hard after Google, and it started being all about these authoritative sources.
Well, it's only recently CNN. It wasn't too long ago. There were that Seltzer, Alka fucking Seltzer, whatever he calls himself. He was complaining that people are getting more views on YouTube than they're getting on CNN. And that was simply a numbers business. They were worried that more people were actually deciding to listen to alternative media than they were going to the mainstream.
Yeah, a lot of that was about money.
True for InfoWars too. I'm sure InfoWars
it was a fusion. It was a fusion of the old dying dinosaur media, the legacy media, with no revenue, no one clicking it, nobody liking it. And then the corporate big tech merging with big pharma and all this, and then all the pressure that was put on them by their stockholders who wanted, to prop up all the old systems. So yeah, they all got together and decided to come in and basically end freedom as we know it. And now our censorship's almost as bad as communist China. The difference is we've got so many talented people and so many people speaking up and so many different varieties of ideas that they're having real problems shutting it all down. But here's just a quick example of how you have the official speak where you're until 5 months ago, you were not allowed to say it may have come out of Wuhan. Here's the funding. Peter Daszak, Fauci saying I want gain of function conferences he put on. Documents were already out. Now The Intercept got 900 pages where he says, I want to merge these 5 viruses. I want it to infect humans. It's a coronavirus. I mean, it's all there now. And so now it's okay to say it came out of a lab. So that received info has changed. Here's Pelosi in April of this year. She came out and said, we cannot require someone to be vaccinated. That's just not what we can do under the Constitution. Now, here, they haven't expunged this yet. This is the CDC website, still there today. Other myths and facts. Can CDC mandate that I get a COVID-19 vaccine? No, that's unconstitutional. But don't worry, it'll be removed now because he's come out and said that. But it gets worse. White House official doesn't rule out requiring COVID-19 vaccines or tests for domestic flights. Isn't that interesting? And then, but it gets worse. The White House is exempt from the shots, and so are postal workers. 600,000 postal workers, they're exempt. So you talk about discrimination, folks. This is it. Here it is. This is out of Newsweek. Members of Congress and their staff are exempt from Biden's vaccine mandate.
Huh. That's interesting.
Wow. Wait, how convenient.
Yeah. So we're talking Animal Farm now.
We heard a very specific number yesterday. 80 million Americans were vilified for wanting to protect their own freedoms, and that was done by a leader of the free world, which is I've never thought I'd see that, but it happened. Love him or hate him, we are in 1984 now. We are in freaking Animal Farm. And, like Alex, I pulled my kid out of public school. It was difficult, but we had to do it. I used to live in San Francisco. We were in the San Francisco school system. So I was seeing this shit, a year ago, 2 years ago, that Antifa teacher, there's 1,000 more like that guy in public schools, and it's just creeping into
There's
everything.
Probably 10,000 in California and probably 5,000 in Texas and 5,000 in Minnesota. I mean, they're freaking everywhere, and they're all these weird, crazy authoritarians dreaming. In fact, that one teacher saying he wants revolution, kill the cops, burn everything down in California, he had an ingsoc tattoo on his arm in 1984 quotes, like he reads a dystopic novel and he thinks it's an owner's manual.
It's instructions.
He thinks they're good ideas.
They are. And San Francisco State is full of them. And, I had a retail store there too, and I got to talk to a lot of people, and not everybody's like that, obviously, in San Francisco, but a lot of the education, even in the freaking city college, was like that. And, I didn't take it seriously 10, 15 years ago. I'm like, it's just a few people. It's never going to get bad. And Well, here the fuck we are. It's bad. It's and you know, I
well,
don't
that's
know
because
how
there's
we fix
always
it.
been a lot of followers, and it's up to strong men and women to stand up and be leaders, not to tell the dumb or the sheep what to do, but to stand up and lead by example. Well, we kind of stood back and now let the bullies and the corporate mind control behavioral psychologists come in and really bully all these really soft domesticated people and then spin them up as kind of Maoist cultural revolution types. And so now they finally have a purpose. They're crazed. They're going to rule. You're going to go to a FEMA camp, but they are going to be running the FEMA camp, which of course isn't true. Any authoritarian system takes over like this, it always gets rid of the useful idiots first. Then they come to the leaders of the opposition and say, we'd like to hire you to work for us. And so, I mean, that's the stuff that happens to me. They're constantly, they haven't done it in a few years, but like, you won't take 10 million? How about 50 million? I mean, literally. And those are off-record meetings, but I mean, I've had meetings with top people, the top globalists below the David Rockefeller, Bill Gates type, but like their head guys. I mean, hell, one of them in front of my producer, John Harmon, like 14 years ago, says, listen, and this is over the telephone during the break. He goes, listen, he's the head of the Kissinger group at the time. He said, you're part of the super class. There's only 1,000 of us. You could lead the liberty movement and influence global things by being the leader of a populist movement. Come to New York. We know you're great. I did this interview about my book because I want to convince you. Come to New York. Join me and Henry Kissinger. It's like, join me and I will complete your race. You don't know I'm the globalist. And I mean, so but that's how this is, folks. They collect people like baseball cards. And most people like Jimmy Kimmel, because, you know, that's the news now is the nighttime propaganda, or Stephen Colbert. They get on their knees and say, yeah, I want the $30 million contract. So, and then, of course, Chucky Schumer pulls out the you-know-what.
Well, they end up, it's nearly
not
impossible.
about sex, Gary.
Yeah. It's nearly impossible for most human beings to turn that down. And then they become so used to it that you see the transition in real time where you've seen a guy like Kimmel or Colbert go from, okay, he made the occasional kind of like liberal leaning joke to basically full out propaganda now at night, where last night he had in his monologue, he's like, well, if you don't have the poke, then you should be denied health care. Like, where is that?
You don't deserve ICU beds. Propaganda.
Kill people. I mean, that's Joseph Mengele level. If you don't do what we want medically with an experimental shot that's already killed a bunch of people, we are going to kill you. Denying somebody medical care is murder.
Yeah, we don't have that happen for people that have mistreated their bodies for 40 fucking years and are morbidly obese. You don't see them getting denied access, even though they're well aware what they're doing is inherently unhealthy. We treat everyone. That is part of the medical profession.
I believe doctors have to make an oath on that.
Yeah, exactly.
There is something.
They do.
Yeah. And now we have this entire thing trying to separate people by did you or didn't you. It is fucking
second-class citizens. You're separating everybody.
Standing up and speaking.
I bet that oath will change pretty soon.
That's good point.
We got new data.
He says, I am fed up with you and I'm running out of patience. You unvaccinated did this. You're killing people, when they know full well, it's in mainline news, the majority of the hospital cases and deaths in Israel, in the U.S. are the vaccinated. They've just been hiding that if anybody dies within 2 weeks of an injection, they count you as unvaccinated. That's on the CDC's website. So you take that in graphs, it's unvaccinated, vaccinated, in hospitalizations in the U.S., in Canada, in England, in Israel, it's all the same. They're tracking the same. But weeks ago when they found that and took the number and counted people that died within 2 weeks as vaccinated is dying way more. These are the numbers. I've got it all right here. They don't want people to see this information. They want to keep you in the dark, keep therapeutics away from people. And again, now they're openly saying all these, Howard Stern said, F these people that died, F them, ha ha ha, they didn't take the vaccine. Well, the damn vaccine, if the vaccine worked, I'd be taking the freaking crap. I've had tetanus shots, stuff like that. This is not a classic vaccine where you give them the whole thing attenuated and you learn how to beat it. It goes in and programs your cells, the mRNA does, to then go and create this spike protein that'll supposedly let your body know what to attack. I mean, that's crazy.
Well, let me just inject here real quick, interject. None of us are doctors.
I knew you were going to do that. That's the one.
Nobody on this panel is a doctor, and this is everyone's own individual opinions.
Yeah.
That's
Listen, let's just say this. We do not need to drink water to live. You do not need food to live. All you need is injections. You can live alone by Fauci blessing you. If you touch the hem of Fauci's garment, you will live forever. No.
Live forever.
I'm an idiot. I'm a moron. None of this is true. Oh my God, everything's fine. The vaccine works perfectly. Everybody should take it. YouTube is wonderful. The head of YouTube's sister heavily invested in the big pharma vaccines is wonderful. I think I think Apple running death camps in China is wonderful. I think the suicide nets around Foxconn are awesome. No borders, no wall. No USA at all. Shows me nothing.
Let's not forget those concentration camps either. You know, the Disney funded concentration camps.
I am so happy that I am being clipped in Alex Jones rants. I love it. I am happy as hell, and you will never shame me for being on the same panel with this motherfucker.
It's pretty fucking fantastic.
And I think all we have to do is really, we don't have to get into any of that. Doctors are like, just listen to Joe Biden. Joe Biden said that we have to protect the vaccinated from the unvaccinated. Just think about that for a second and what that means.
What does that mean? From a personal perspective, right? The whole coof business obviously was a complete, new thing for everyone. It took everyone by surprise. But the way that it's been completely and utterly mismanaged, we've gone from lockdowns that have done nothing to stem anything, to being open and everyth's been fine, to suddenly being, oh no, we're going back into lockdown. So you need to take this, you need to mask that, then you don't, then you do. Right. And when the people
all while saying you have to trust us.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's just it. When these are the people that you're meant to believe in, you're meant to trust, and then they're saying, now we want you to put this non-approved thing into your body, and it's going to make you okay.
That you can't sue,
but you can still get it. Yeah, you can't sue. You're likely.
By the way, they say likely to die. No, you're absolutely right. I want to go back to you, sir. You're absolutely right. But this is what you're saying. The two heads of the FDA, the chief scientist over vaccine approval and his deputy. 45 years together at the deal. They quit almost 2 weeks ago and said, you shouldn't approve this. You shouldn't make it mandatory. You shouldn't do under 16s. You shouldn't do boosters. Even the head of the WHO came out and said, don't do boosters yesterday. So again, what's the official thing? If YouTube won't let you say it, but the official, well, now there's not even an official because their own people in Europe, the head regulators said the same thing as the US regulators. Well, they just had to resign. And now Biden's our doctor, doesn't even know who he is. He's up there doing this. So what you're saying is absolutely true. They did not approve it. They reauthorized an emergency authorization and hoaxed the public into saying, take it. You don't have to be a doctor to recognize and know what happened right there. But I'm sorry, sir. Keep telling folks what's happening. What are you over in the UK?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just some limey. But no, but you.
Well, you're extremely handsome.
Butter up
But it's like it's no wonder that people are skeptical, and I think it's healthy to be skeptical about something like this.
Don't ask questions. My question, Big Pharma. That is not. Sorry, go ahead, sir.
Well, no, my brother had it during the lockdowns. He got it. He recovered from it. He's a lot thinner and healthier than I, can I just say? But then he's gone and he's gone and said, I want to be vaccinated. That's his choice. And I whatever he wants to do, I'm totally behind.
Tell him if you've had it, you really don't want to take a vaccine.
Well, he's had his both, and then he's got it. He's had it again.
You understand how that works, right? I mean, mainline biology is once you have something, you're not supposed to get it again. So what's happening? People are taking the shot. Same thing I showed you out of Israel. Look at Israel graph, guys. Can you punch this up? Israel has more than 10 times the deaths, illnesses, hospitalizations than Sweden. That is, and the same numbers for India. India is 10% vaxxed. They're like Sweden. Israel is like 90% vaxxed. That's a real number out of Israel, folks. Look it up. They don't want you to know about this. Sorry, go ahead.
I think people have got every right to question. And to have it being mandated, because now it's going to get, now in the US, not in the UK, but in the US now it's being mandated. And it's just like, this is a healthy discussion that needs to be had. Herd mentality is the best way to tackle something. And so it naturally letting your body build up an immune system.
North Korea is freedom. North Korea is freedom. You're wrong, sir. We should not have a discussion. I think this show should be censored and taken off the internet right now.
I absolutely agree. I apologize. I apologize. I will turn myself upside down, sir, just for that. I apologize.
You're obviously the most censored man on the internet. And how has that affected your audience? Because I think it's only helped your audience overall. I mean, obviously not being on a YouTube platform hurts, from an algorithm standpoint, but how's that helped your overall audience?
Well, let me explain my philosophy and how I think, because I'm a big history buffer. I've forgotten more history than most history professors know. The drinking and things make you forget things, but let's not exaggerate.
Quartering nose.
So seriously, I knew when I read all the globalist documents and UN reports and Zbigniew Brzezinski books and David Rockefeller books 30 years ago, and I figured this out about 25 years ago. I'd already been on air a few years then. I've been on air 28 years now. I guess about 20. I knew that this was all going to come true. They weren't investing trillions of dollars and doing all this. And I had family, that had been involved in Iran-Contra, so they told me all about how evil the government was because they got out of it. And so I was not naive growing up. And so because I saw some of this happening. And so I knew they were really going to carry this plan out. And I knew it happens in waves. And I knew their plan by 1992 was Rio de Janeiro. They had a treaty that by 2020, they'd launch the world government, begin depopulation, and then depopulate the majority of people by 2030. So that was officially signed into global law. So I knew this would come true. So I knew I'd get ridiculed, attacked, demonized for years. And then I knew that even if I got killed or imprisoned, it would be remembered what I said and did when they launched their attack. And like seeds getting sunlight and water and good soil, all the seeds I planted, like Johnny Appleseed, would then burst forth when they launched their main globalist attack. So I did plan this very extreme long-term, knowing history, knowing the globalists work long-term. The general public doesn't remember what happened 5 minutes ago. So if I worked long-term, I believed that I could get others to wake up and build a movement that would plant seeds that would defeat them. I didn't think I'd end up being one of the main, oppositions to it, with like Bolsonaro and Orban and only a few others. So it's like, Trump somewhat, co-opted it for a while. He's a good guy overall, but I don't think, is a purist. So, who is there? There's Tucker Carlson's on board. I woke him up. He's told me that personally. I woke up Joe Rogan. He's told me that personally. He's totally awake now. He used to think I was crazy. We've been friends since 1998. Friends since about 99. Met him in 98. We partied a lot in Vegas. You know what I mean? We've done everything. Yeah. Here
Alex Jones confirmed for our Vegas meetup next year. You heard it here first. So
I don't party anymore. I don't even drink anymore.
That's good to hear.
And I'm even a guy. I'm just very, very, very cloistered now. But I'd like to hang out with you guys sometime. And who knows? But the point is, maybe I'll go crazy next week. But the point is that I
never know, man.
Long term that this was going to happen. They were setting this up, and now we're just in the beginnings of this. They're going to have, a new virus popped up, and they're starving in Africa, and the borders got busted, and a new bioweapon got released. But it's all them directing it. So I think everybody either needs to stop this and defeat the New World Order, which has been my plan, that once they emerge and really attack, we wouldn't be caught flat-footed. It could stop it. If not, billions will be killed by 2030. So a lot of us here on the internet will be dead. Yeah. We will be dead. A lot of that now and all the nerds at Google, your bosses are all building armored fortresses under mountains. You don't live in those. You're not part of the establishment. I run a little Google guys in Austin and Apple guys that walk over when I'm in a restaurant or bar and they go, yes, we are censoring you, but it's for a greater good. We're building a utopia. And I go, no, the globalists are setting you up for a societal collapse. They're going to kill you. Now get the hell away from me. Your little power trip. You're fools. Yes. You have Stockholm syndrome. You've been set up, and almost everyone watching this in 9 years will be dead unless we turn this around.
It's funny how they don't know that they're part of the machine that will turn against them just as quickly. Yes. It's always the same pro censorship. It's the same people that say it's consequence culture, not cancel culture. That are always so shocked when the target's on their own back.
Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Right. He said the F word. He expected that he wasn't going to get tarred. Like, are you stupid?
Also, to clarify, when you said that we're going to die, you were talking about climate change, right? Because climate change is going to kill us, right?
12 years.
2030. See, that's the plan. They're going to blame. They blame the virus they created. They say, viruses will emerge because it's overheating. They plan to collapse society. That's why Beto and all these other globalists and AOC said 2 years ago, She said, we'll all be dead by 2030. She's not being given the full picture because she's a low-grade moron. They're saying things are going to collapse. We've all got to cut the resources off. The planet's hit its carrying load. They tell them the pole's going to shift in 2030, we believe. This is what people high level told me. And they go, we've got to get rid of most people because when this collapses, there won't be enough resources. And so we've got to get everybody ready. And that's why all the billionaires are building underground bunkers in Kauai and in New Zealand and, you know, and up towards the Arctic Circle with helicopter pads and bunkers and camouflage and, you know,
buying up a lot of real estate and farmland.
Yeah.
Bill Gates has bought how much farmland?
A lot.
Yeah.
Shit ton.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, Gates and all about millions of acres, and along with Ted Turner. So when you're talking about this, they are engineering a global collapse to consolidate all the money and power and control while getting rid of the useless eaters. But they're telling the minion servant class, oh, the world's about to collapse. We'll save you when the pole shift happens. That's what they're telling him. Around 2030, our scientists say, but you've got to help us bring in this authoritarian system. They're like, I'll do whatever you're going to say, sir. And so that's how they're getting them all on board. None of this is bullshit, guys. This is all real.
No, well, that's the thing. You talked about how Rogan, used to think you were crazy. I'll be honest. I thought you were crazy a long time ago until I started paying attention because and then the more you learn about you, and a lot of people don't know this, but you have a lot of self-awareness and you own the mistakes that you've made in the past and you own up to that. You don't shy away from that. And I think that gives a lot more credibility. That's why we're seeing so many people now go, yeah, Alex Jones was actually right about almost everything. And
if we've got a few minutes, sir, I'd like to
we got all the time for you, man.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
8chan and 4chan have a lot of nice people on them, but they also have operatives that when the WikiLeaks came out, and it was like Democrats saying, we're going to have the little kids in the hot tub for your enjoyment. $60,000 of hot dogs are being delivered. We're going to do the Aleister Crowley rituals out there at the farmhouse. And they're saying all this. And they're talking about all this. That was in the WikiLeaks. So then ABC News, CNN, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times all reported on a pizza place and said it was all happening there to divert everyone over there. Then we cover it and say, is it true? Then they turn it around and say, we're the ones that created it. Separately, I had a former high-level CIA guy who overthrew 6 governments and, wrote a whole bunch of books with Tom Clancy and all the rest of it. And they had a very, very famous school safety guy. I'm not going to say the name of the place because they say I live off of it and it's my identity. I barely ever talked about it, maybe 10 shows, out of the tens of thousands I've done. I mean, so there was an event at a place in Connecticut where children got shot. And the school administrator expert guy says, I think there's a lot of evidence that this doesn't, look like it holds up because this big internet thing. And then the CIA former black ops commander says, no, Alex, it didn't happen. And they give me good info before. So then later I thought, well, they set me up so they could then say, oh, look, Alex Jones doesn't think kids died. Well, here's an example. They're saying that all these people that have heart attacks and die from the vaccine, even when the doctor confirms it, aren't real. And the Democrats and liberals, who are now these cultists of big pharma, are worshiping and covering up and censoring local news when the doctor says a 39-year-old mother dies after she gets one of these vaccines, liquefied her organs. So they're denying people are dying from a shot because they want to push the shot. I didn't want to be blamed as a gun owner being told that I caused elementary school students to die. Then everybody denies it happens. I look at it, the CIA, who told me, this is a real CIA high-level contact, who give me good info before, comes and says, no, this really is staged. Then maybe some of the anomalies aren't really anomalies. And now Remington is asking for the school report cards of the kids and is doing all this stuff. I'm not getting in the middle of this. All I know is one of my crew members' uncle is a retired FBI agent. He pops up there and says he never seen anything like it and says there's a cover-up going on. So again, that's what this is all about. So I questioned Jussie Smollett when he said 2 guys in the middle of the night in Chicago beat me up and called me this and poured bleach on me and
MAGA country
around my neck.
Yeah.
And of course, it turned out that was
Jussie
fake.
Smollett doesn't believe Jussie Smollett. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm saying. Should I, if I said that looked fake, I said it day one. Now, if I'd have been wrong, it's my right to question something. They lied in 1990 and said Saddam Hussein's Republican Guard went into Kuwait and killed hundreds of babies, stomping their brains out to steal incubators. None of that happened. The little girl never been to Kuwait. Her dad owned a giant PR firm. That's why I question big events. Not because questioning a big event is some of my fake news and how I make money or whatever. I make money by being real and being on the air and covering a ton of news, but my goal was never make money. I started out on Access TV. Then about 15 years ago, people said, oh, you're just about money. When I had like 5 employees, people were trying to shut me down. I said, I'll show you. I'll go from bringing in $5 million a year to $50 million a year. But that's money to fund back into the operation. Do I like a car that runs well? Do I like being able to get medical care and eat food? Yeah, but I don't worship things, or I would have already had the deal. I was offered Glenn Beck's deal on Fox News before I ever heard of Glenn Beck. I was offered $10 million a year. I was offered 2 books a year. I was said, well, everything will be handled for you. You can live in New York or LA or DC, and you're going to be the next Rush Limbaugh. I was offered basically all of that because they thought he was going to die back then with all the Oxycontin stuff, God rest his soul. And so that's all. I could have already been Rush Limbaugh 15, 16 years ago. They already wanted his replacement. I didn't take it. I'm not selling out. I'm doing the opposite. I'm changing history, and that's what I want to do for a pro-human future. Sorry.
See, here's a difference. What happens is you can be wrong about 3 things, and then you're completely destroyed on it. Mainstream media can be wrong every day. Exactly. And they never apologize. You can apologize for what you've done wrong. They've never been called out for it on a mass scale. They never apologize, and they continue to fucking be wrong every day.
The New York Times lied about WMDs
and nothing
consciously, and then millions starved to death and died out of those wars. And then they write articles about how I exploit people and I'm this big devil. It's a joke. Great point.
Yeah. Well, the same people just published an article, saying ICUs are overrun from people taking horse paste.
All lies. Rolling Stone.
Verifiably false.
Could you not tell from the fucking thumbnail for that article where it's just people in winter coats standing outside, gunshot wound victims in winter coats in Oklahoma?
I didn't know about the story, not a Joe Rogan name dropping story, but it's just true. I'm sitting in the hot tub and I'm sitting there, and Joe Rogan sends me a text and he goes, have you ever seen a story this fake? He goes, and I look at it and I go, oh my God, look at the thumbnail of them all lined up in these masks. I immediately get out of the hot tub, make some calls, call a reporter that works for me. She calls the hospital chain. They go, no one is here. So I knew by Friday at 8 o'clock it was fake because I put a reporter on it. And she totally proved it, and then so did others. And again, they consciously lied and knew it on the local station to put it out on a network of stations that we now know they were basically paid consciously to put that out to counter Joe Rogan days before saying ivermectin cured him.
Yep. Yeah, and it's so obvious now that like they're not even trying anymore. And you know what? That leads people to Alex, okay? When they get caught, bullshitting, earlier, Alex, like people are now talking and about you and listening to you that.
But I want to be clear. I would retire right now and go away if we could just stop the forced injections and the New World Order and all the pedophile drag queen story time. I've been on air 28 years.
Yeah.
I don't hate doing it, but it's like either a total passion or you're either 100% or you're out of it. I want to go hike in the Rocky Mountains. I want to go deep sea fishing. I mean, I'm almost 50 years old. But you know what? Now I'm more energized than ever because now we know we're right. It's out in the open and it's just insane. So, but yes, it is good to be vindicated, but I don't want people to even vindicate me. I want them to get engaged and realize complying with this is like feeding yourself into a wood chipper legs first. It only gets worse. Do not go in the wood chipper. Stop complying. They're always going to want more power.
And they're never going to give it up. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts, and they just took a big slash last night, and people
they overstepped last night.
I think they did too.
Yeah, I think so too.
Exactly, not paper cuts. Last night they took like the Conan sword.
Absolutely.
Whoa, wait a second.
It's like Kill Bill.
Quartering posted that clip of George Carlin on Twitter, and it was just perfect. I mean, George Carlin was so ahead of the curve. On
by the way, I forgot that clip, and I saw the Quartering post that. I appreciate him defending me from the Black Rifle people. By the way, I don't want to fight with the Black Rifle people. I understand they got sucked in and wanted to be something to everybody, but that's not how America is. It's polarized now. You basically either have to not be political or choose a side. But anyway, side issue. I saw that on his Twitter, and I played it on the show the other day. So, I really do watch you guys. You're awesome.
That's awesome, man.
Thanks.
Hell yeah. I mean, the one thing a lot of us, kind of what we talk about here on this show and what our world is the wokeness of Hollywood and everything. And the question I get asked and all of us get asked, and I'm interested in your perspective on this. Where did it really start? Now, obviously, that's a deep question for someone like you. But where did it really start to show the cracks in the wokeness of Hollywood, in your opinion?
That is a really good question. You know, you guys should host my show sometime with your whole roundtable. If everyone hosted 200 radio stations, you can't cuss. But if you guys ever want to come host a show, you'd be a great roundtable to do it. I'd love to have you do it and plug your shows.
Yeah.
But you know, to try to come up with an answer to that, I don't want to give. That's a complex cultural question. And so it's really hard to give an accurate question. But I would say Hollywood was already collapsing by the time Obama got there. And then he was sold as like a Hollywood commodity to bring humanity together, save everybody. And Americans wanted to really, you know, stop racism. And then when he became a divider and a manipulator and people saw Hollywood pushing him, it began to really crumble. And then when you have the internet, you know what killed Hollywood is the internet because and mainline television, because they could never I think I remember a Joe Rogan bit. I'm not trying to just riff on Joe Rogan, but like back in 1999, I'm sitting there in Austin watching him at the Cap City Comedy Club, and he's talking about, you know what's going to happen to mainline TV, and he'd already been a national, you know, TV host and stuff, you know, on news radio, and was about to do Fear Factor.
Yeah.
He said, do you know what is going to kill TV and movies and everything? He said, I predict by the year 2020, we're not going to be flying around on silver jetpacks and stuff. He goes, I predict by the year 2020, you'll basically, mainline TV in Hollywood will be dead and everything will be the internet or a facsimile of that. And that's totally true. So it's the internet and all these choices in Hollywood and big tech and legacy dinosaur media. They all were like, oh, no one will care about that. We'll still control it. We'll get some talent out of it like minor leagues, but we'll still be the dominant force. But instead, the rawness, the visceralness, the choice of it, the full spectrum of it, of humanity really just wanting common people and normal people and regular people. And a lot of it's been hideous. Some of it's been wonderful. It's been everything in a full spectrum of a billion colors and ideas. That is something that once people taste it, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. You can't get the cows or the horses to come back in the barn. They're gone. As they ignored the internet and were arrogant, it was already taking over. Anti-globalism was already one of the main veins, and was already, people were being warned. So now their memories are longer than the globalists think, because it's subconsciously there, and now it's coming back to their memories. And so that was killing them. But then with Netflix and with Amazon and all these channels flooding bad productions, flooding bad actors, flooding wokeness, as soon as Hollywood began to realize 5-6 years ago they were losing control, a day late, $1 short, then they go, okay, weaponize it and divide and conquer them and make them tune into it because it's political and hateful. But then that drove more people away. And so, okay, we'll take over late night comedy, take over the nightly shows, take over sports, take over the kids' schools, just take it all over, because they're all these old, twisted, hunchback devils and crypt keepers that literally hate themselves and hate us and want to take us all with them. That's why Soros wants war with China right now. So that was the beginning and end of Hollywood. And then once people in Hollywood realized it was a big burnout, destroyed crater in a bowl with toxic waste, basically huffing poisonous fumes, and then all the drugs, everything burned their brains out, they're just like, this place sucks. The money sucks. The Mercedes sucks. The people are empty. This is soulless. So all the Hollywood people fleeing themselves ran to Canada and Texas and, you know, Tennessee and Florida and everywhere else. And so people figured out, oh my God, this is poison. This isn't good. This was used to make us vapid and stupid and very, very shallow. It didn't just die. It became like a negative commodity, like a rotting corpse in your living room. And now it's this reanimated, stinking zombie walking around crapping on itself, demanding, I love you, come back, I give you a shot, I save you with what I released from Wuhan. Brains. Because it's this soulless thing lashing out, trying to suck us like a giant squid into its belly. And now its own tech people are like, we're going to spy on everybody's iPhones and their photos, and they're looking at ours, and they're making us give them our iPhone. And my boss told me about my naked wife and my camera roll. Well, wait, I thought I was supposed to be the ruling class. I was supposed to be the movie star. And now they all realize it's empty, total crap, ladies and gentlemen. There's nothing there, and it's not just a zero. Hollywood is a negative, like trash you've got to pay to get rid of. And so it's lashing out with a great reset to collapse us and gaslight us and turn us all around. So as soon as their image machine and as soon as they being in love with themselves finally died, it was dangerous because that was their identity. Now they went, well, screw it. We have these battle plans to deindustrialize or release a bioweapon and start killing everybody. We never really went along with this, but actually, since they don't love us anymore, and since we can't mesmerize them, let's just wreck everything and bring them down with us. That's it.
I love it.
Fantastic.
I do think if you look at the 50s and the 60s in Hollywood, there was actually like an anti-communist mindset in Hollywood. And then over 50 years, they switched now to where I think that cord cutting was a big liberating factor for people. Over production, lower quality products has people tuning out in record numbers. And Hollywood felt like they could control culture before with these movies. And, you know, I mean, like Friends, the TV show, everyone had the same freaking haircut as Ross, and everyone had the same haircut as Jennifer Aniston. People stopped looking up to them. So then they became political activists.
Speaking like them, Jeremy.
Right. Yeah, they use the same words. I mean, remember when like The Mask came out and everyone was like, all righty then.
Yeah,
like
this is like when you have a husband that beats his wife and puts cigarettes out on her, and she finally gets an apartment, moves out, and he goes over there and shoots her. They're basically pissed that we left them. They were obsessed with controlling culture, and now they've just, like Count Dracula, opened up his cape and just are sending out all the poison gas.
You, when you said that, you know, they themselves are just full of self-loathing and they want to drag you down with them. That's exactly how it feels with today's entertainment. You feel the utter disdain when you go and watch a show. You know, we used to go to shows for entertainment, for escapism, to get away from everyday life. You know, we all work hard. We want to just relax at the end of the day.
But we give me a fantasy, but make it good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, give us something to invest in. Just give us something to take us away for a bit. But we now go to our entertainment and we just have this finger wagging. You're a bunch of horrible, disgusting, vile human beings. You need to change if you're not. It's just like, fuck you. I don't need this.
There's so much bad stuff happening in the world, like, you know, politically and just, you know, around the world, bad shit's happening all the time. But you can't go anywhere to escape from it because all of the media is just also going, you are horrible people. You need to do better. And it's just all this woke stuff. So there's
not just the media.
That's part of the plan, man.
All the institutions are. Even as a
Catholic,
Catholic, even the churches, even the bishops are doing the same thing. Like that's what I've been really going crazy over here in my own world, right? In Catholic education, is that they're also even now infiltrating in a lot of ways.
That's crazy.
Everything you see out of the Pope is just right out of Hollywood. It's the same script. Let me tell you guys this because it's important. It's super important. Okay, because I'm not a Hollywood guy, and I got invited out there and got a bundle because they were trying to, you know, recruit me. I kind of figured it out about 15 years ago and never went back. But I got invited to Sundance Film Festival in Utah, and I knew that I'd been there a few times to that valley where that's at Park City, but I couldn't go. So I sent a consultant friend of mine, you know, that I work with. I was invited. I said, hey, they want me to go to this event. They want me to be part of these meetings. They want me to talk about some type of Netflix show. I said, I know it's really just to recruit me. I said, if you want to go find out. So he goes out there. He spends 3 days at it. They let him into all the breakaway groups, a lot of big filmmakers, TV show hosts. And every meeting he was in front of him, they're like, the orders for what they're buying is just total despair, nihilism, total depression. He asked why. They go, we want people to hate Trump. We want people just to feel like everything's bad because Trump's trying to make it feel good. They weren't even denying this in dozens of meetings where he was at watching all this happen, and they were letting him in. It was just bizarre. But they all thought it was just to get Trump. No. That was just a training doll. They probably even let Trump in to just set this up. If the left do horrible things, it's really about the Great Reset. Klaus Schwab, former head of the Bilderberg Group, and the corporate leader who's running all this. I mean, he's the guy. And Bill Gates, he literally says in speeches, we're going to create incredible anger. And with the anger, we will then overthrow the system and we will end capitalism and create a new system of universal income. They Great Reset's cut into, but here they are in private jets and worth billions. They're just promising, the communist overthrow, but they're offshore and then control that while we all become peasants. So they're creating a cultural revolution with a communist template run by offshore technocrat fascists. And so that's why they're trying to make everything dystopic and ugly and lock us in our houses. It's all trauma-based mind control. When the CIA tortures somebody, the first thing they do is lock them up, usually in a cabinet or like in a steel box for a week. Okay, and then only open it up, to look at the crap all over you. Yeah, you want a little bit of food, you piece of garbage, and then humiliate off a naked woman who's really hot doing it, beating them and all the rest of it. That's their favorite thing, to break people, and it works on Muslims, Christians, pretty much anybody. And the woman's pissing on you, cramming tampons in your mouth. That's declassified. That's what they do. And so this is the type of stuff that goes on. It's just all just Satanism. They're just training their people to engage in Satanism. But a ritual covered by this, and men on dog leashes, and all of this. And it's feminist to do it, and the torturers are almost all women. So again, this is all the externalization of their method, when really they're just pedophile devil worshippers that like to rape and murder people.
You're absolutely right about Sundance, because Sterling Van, was it Wagenen? He was arrested for and jailed for child abuse.
Twice.
Wow. Yeah. And that's the co-founder of the Sundance Festival.
Look, what I'm telling you, imagine they've all used the drugs, they've all had the supermodels, none of it, and they just get into total darkness and just, what do I get to be a thrill? Okay, I'll rape an 8-year-old, and that's who they are. I mean, how many Disney executives and Disney directors are given children film directing who have been convicted of raping 10-year-old boys, 7-year-old boys? I mean, it's on record. Look it up. Dozens of them. This is an army of pedophiles.
Yeah, people that work at Disney, people that work at Nickelodeon that are doing these kids' TV shows that are continuing to put these like foot fetish jokes in there with these teenagers. Like, that's legitimately happening. That's recordable. You can look at that shit. And, Alex, you're 100% right. What they want to create anger, not what people accuse us of. You just want to be angry at Star Wars or whatever. They're doing it legitimately by disappearing the middle class. When you see inflation, when you see the cost of goods right now,
yep,
you think to yourself, how can they be this stupid to keep spending this money they don't have? That's, what it's going to lead to.
Well,
it's on purpose.
Globalists are at war with stable humans. They're at war with the American system because people will want freedom versus the globalist system.
Yeah,
look at Netflix and Netflix and Cuties. That producer. The producer said he interviewed 600 fucking girls for it.
They videoed everyone.
And then it's a very specific. Coincidentally enough, it was the very final one that came through. And then Netflix defended that, and they've defended it. And anyone that defends Cuties is going to go fuck themselves. And then if you saw behind the scenes footage of that, which they actually put up, you got these girls who were in it fucking crying their eyes out. Doing that fucking film, crying their fucking eyes out, and having the woman who wrote the story like consoling them. And you got to really ask yourself, what the fuck is going on there?
Where did the 500 audition tapes go?
Yeah.
They call it lesser magic, the Satanist, and it's a system. If they do it in your face, they get like double bonus powers, like when Mario or Luigi gets the mushroom. And so they get bonus points, like a video game. If they show you the abuse openly and flaunt it, they get more power.
It's disgusting. And one thing that, I think they've been rather successful at for the most part is having people fear talking to you. And that's one thing that I think we weren't going to allow happen, because I think that no one has to believe Alex Jones, but he has a right to be heard. And I think that's just the bottom line here. And if you fear his words, he's probably saying something that's hitting close to home. That's
even
the way
Bill
I've
Maher
always
said
looked
that,
at it.
and I appreciate Bill Maher saying, "Hey, everybody gets to talk, including Alex Jones." Because what's dangerous is I've learned, being deplatformed off of everything but Infowars.com, Newswars.com, Band.video, which has millions of people a day to come to it, and then they share it out, and then people are like emissaries or ambassadors, to get it out. They choose what to show of you in the mainstream media, or they lie about what you've said, and then you don't get to respond. And so they had the Wall Street Journal, which you think is respected. It's one of the worst. It's a hit job. They wrote an article saying Alex Jones says nobody died at the name of that place in Connecticut. I won't even say it.
Yeah.
Alex Jones loses suit for writing book Nobody Died at SH. And then it just says I lost a suit, and I went to the Wall Street Journal with lawyers, and I said, retract this. I didn't write this book. I didn't lose a suit. They said, sue us. So, folks, believe me, you think they're lying. When you're personally like a dark horse, quote, celebrity, chew toy of the New World Order, they literally edit and change and lie, and then exercise to see, with all their minions, to see how much can we get our newsrooms to lie, but it's only on Alex Jones. So they basically, again, they train on me like training an attack dog on a dummy. Then it's a real person. They are literally use me, and I knew that. My dad, like 4 years ago, right before I got deplatformed, he came over to the house, and he's been in business with me some. He's now retired. And he said, he's a smart guy. And he said, son, you've really upped it on the air. You're just really lashing out and attacking these people and attacking Tim Cook and attacking Apple and attacking Google. Don't you think you're going to get banned? They're having major discussions about it. And I said, Dad, it's foregone. They're going to take over. It's in their white papers. The Wall Street Journal written a 30-page article, forget the name of it, but it was linked in an article called "Hold on to your tinfoil hat, Alex Jones. Google's about to ban you." And there's a 30-page article behind the paywall because the corporate business pages put out real stuff. It said, "Don't worry, the internet will not be around like it was. It'll be like Netflix. Within 3 years, we're going to censor everybody. And here's such and such, this neocon at the German intelligence group with the CIA who developed the plan with AI to censor." It's like a 30-page article. I've read it on air, the whole thing before. And they said, we're going to start with Julian Assange. And when the left doesn't stand up for him being banned, then we're going to ban Alex Jones. And when the right doesn't stand up, Jack Sprat will eat no fat. His wife will eat no lean. In between, they lick the platter clean. And so once, I mean, they said we're going to do it. So I said, Dad, you see this? I've got to be as big as I can, tell the truth now, and hope people have a memory when they ban me to come to Infowars.com. So then I'm up there saying, they're going to ban me. You got to come here. You got to share it. And when you think it's just me, then they're going to come after you. And so, again, I'm not a plotting person. I just cover the truth. But on the big picture, I think 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, 100-year plans. I wanted to sabotage them no matter what happened by laying enough truth, like landmines of truth out there that wherever they step, they're going to blow their foots off.
And you've also built now the capacity to be able to that basically the old saying from Firefly Serenity, you can't stop the signal. Like, and you've now been able to, with all of this, be able to build yourself up to that they can't shut you down.
Exactly. And if they had Serenity over this group of globalists, he'd show the guy that the film clip of them killing everybody with the aerosolized Prozac. And the guy go, of course I know we're killing everyone. I like to kill people and rape their dead bodies. If the movie was accurate, he'd go, of course we killed everybody. I mean,
that's the only thing he had a conscience.
The globalists are like the Reavers. The globalists are who run. Imagine the Reavers run everything.
So how do we go and stop the Great Reset? How do we stop this push for global authoritarianism? I mean, it's 2030 is not that far away. So we only have like 9 years to slam the brakes on all this.
Well, you want to know why they're doing it? That's the answer to your question. They already have a lot of life extension technologies. They've already got a lot of therapies and things that'll extend your life out of you. People that can live another 20 years or so are going to be able to live 100 more. They won't really be human by the end of it, but you can extend it. If you extend out that long, maybe you can resurrect yourself. In stranger eons, maybe even death will die, to improperly quote H.P. Lovecraft. So they want the future. They greedily want to control it. And it's true. 7.5 billion people planning out at 9 building as a time bomb, nuclear weapons, resource wars. Their excuse is go get rid of us to try to get a smaller, more manageable group to then, quote, evolve to this new superhuman. Except they're all a bunch of DuPonts and globalists and just inbred crazy people who are the worst to go forward. And from big, giant masses of people, you get that innate genius that of every race, color, and creed that builds into the future. So elites are always trying to put people on small pieces of land and starve them and keep them down. The time of Plato, 2,300 years ago, he wrote in Plato's Republic, there's too many poor people, we need to exterminate them. They're crushing the breast of Mother Nature. There was like maybe 200,000 Greeks on all the islands. Okay, so Malthus 300 years ago said we should poison with smallpox all the poor people and cram them into tiny houses that are 200 square feet so they all die. We should kill all the Irish. And then Thomas Swift wrote a modest proposal. So let's just eat the Irish children. And some Brits read it and thought, well, of course we will eat them. So, and then I did a whole rant about eat your neighbors, and they took it out of context. So I forgot the question. I'm being rude here. What was the question again?
How do we stop
the Great Reset? How do we stop it? We engage the globalists at their level when they distract us and go, hey, we know you wrote white papers about killing us all. We know why you're doing this. You're scum. You're the worst trash. You were given everything by your parents and their parents. You need to get out of the way. We're going to organize against you now. We're going to have a pro-human future. And yes, it's true we become slovenly, we become decadent. Yes, it's true, but you've helped grease the skids with Hollywood and all this. And so you need to understand, you try to get rid of us, we're going to make sure you go first. And then they're going to back off. But then we've got to have a real discussion about real sustainability and real technologies and real exploration and making it about human endeavor and real competition where we celebrate leaders and alphas and everybody else, but then we take everybody else with us into the future, but we also crush psychotic predators. We hang them till they're dead. And we have to just get back to survival of the leaders that are going to lead the species forward and set up a system where we don't empower people being weak and pathetic. The globalists help make us weak and pathetic, grease the skids so they can steal the future and move forward and claim the survival of the fittest. Well, that's like saying blow the planet up so you're the alpha. That's BS. And so that's why we're not the animals. We transcend them. It's not like a grizzly bear will come up and smell the cubs. If it's a female, he won't eat it. If it's a male, even his own baby, he will eat his own son because he doesn't want the competition. He's not that smart. And that's really the level of these people, is they want to kill their competition. So we need to say, well, we deserve to die if we let them kill us. But we're going to rise to the challenge. You want survival of the fittest, we're going to beat you people. And after you've been indicted and tried and found guilty of war crimes, Nuremberg 2.0, we're going to publicly execute your ass. You got to be willing to try them and hang them high. And you got to be willing to say it. You think I make friends with them saying that? I want to legally, lawfully, no violence offensively. I'm going to not do it outside the courts. But we're going to hang these people at Nuremberg 2 unless they go the way of Hitler and take cyanide.
We got comfortable and they took advantage of it. We got comfortable and now, they've been pushing boundaries. And I'm seeing stuff I never fucking thought I would see in my country happen in my fucking country. That last night, I never thought I'd hear a speech like that. And the most disappointing part is seeing people rooting that fucking shit on. Dude, this is our freedom. And most people don't even fucking understand what freedom is. Let's be real. And he's
organizing all the vaccinated that they're the good people and they're the, I didn't die. My friend didn't die of it. The vaccine's totally safe. It's 100% effective, even though that's not true. And I'm going to get those people that killed people. It's the fault of them not taking an unapproved drug. They're the people. Get their torches. Let's get them.
Yeah. Marxism playbook. It's the Marxism playbook, right? You got to have the class warfare in this case.
Divide.
Caste system.
And that Hollywood is playing into that, and they want to take away our property. You're right. They're already starting to sell like property's so much responsibility. You don't want that. We'll take care of it. For
you'll own nothing.
You'll have nothing. You'll own nothing, and you'll love it. That's Klaus Schwab.
A lot of times, and Alex is just so fucking entertaining that I'm laughing at what he's saying, but it's not because I don't take him seriously, because I do, but he's so entertaining with also being based as hell. And
you guys are too nice.
It's a laughing nod. You're like, yes.
No, it is. It's like, yes. It's true. Like, you are a fascinating person and so entertaining, but the things you're saying, that this is what turns off some people, and not that you need to change anything, but a lot of people, they think that you're just doing that because you're trying to overhype something. That's your passion coming out. That's your passion.
I'll let you know what's really going on here. I woke up at 5:15 this morning, and I have been working since 7 a.m. after I got my 4-year-old daughter ready for preschool, and went and dropped her off at 7:30. They went and took care of my dad, who almost got killed by COVID. It's no joke, folks, because the new variant out of the vaccine mutation is very serious. And then I got up here, and when I really do my best rants, when I'm totally exhausted, and it was great to come on, I'm so tired that the only way I could do it is to be obnoxious and turn it up to 11. So again, I'm exhausted, so I appreciate you guys putting up with me. But no, it's the fact that I'm usually a pretty calm guy. We're not putting up with you.
We're loving it. Don't worry.
Yes, absolutely.
Calm guy in person. If we're out fishing or we're drinking beer, I might not talk for 30 minutes. I'll be listening to you. But once I'm up here talking about this stuff's real, okay? Yep. I mean, folks, when I said most of us will be dead by 2030 if we don't stop this is, just watch, okay? Your lives are all in danger. This is a takeover, and it's not a game.
I think that what you described, Alex, in that fucking work ethic, like, that's one of the things I like about hearing you tell your story, how you came from just local radio, and then it just grew and grew and grew because you worked your fucking ass off.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yep. And I mean, I was 21. They were changing a rock station, Z-Rock. Used to be heavy metal around the country. It was the last station in the country. I'd grown up in Dallas when I was in high school there listening to it. We moved here in high school, and I was listening to Z-Rock, and then Sharkman was this national host on CBS Radio. Sharkman calls my comment line that I had on Access TV, really for hot chicks to call, because, like, someone before the internet had dating sites that worked. I'd be like, chicks calling up and be like, all right, well, come down to the station. I'll talk to you 5 minutes from the show, and usually only hot chicks would do it. But they were always crazy. All of a sudden, it's like, hey, this is Sharkman over here at 98.9. We're about to go, don't tell anybody, we're about to go talk next month, and we'd like to have you down here. And so he was great for the first year. I went from being on Saturdays, getting good ratings, to them giving me a weeknight show. Then he left to manage some station in Arizona. And man, they brought in these jerks that didn't like me. And I already had, because I said, well, I can't make money being on there. They paid me like $200 a week. I said, I'll become a salesman. Well, I went and was selling like $100,000 a month. And for that station, that was great. And so I'm like, okay, give me my 20%, because I was in the higher bracket, like the next best salesman. They go, no, we're taking your accounts away. And I said, that's okay. I'm not going to leave. I'm going to stay. Because if you don't like it, we'll fire you. I said, all I care about is being on air. So then I used a phone line to connect to a satellite and was beaming it out to 10 stations, shortwave. And they started hearing about me nationally. And they go, you're not syndicated. That's not how. I go, yeah, I'm syndicated over that phone line over there. They fire me. And they go, you're not in the media anymore, and laughed at me. And the local paper said, Jones, who won Best of Austin, had the #1 rated show at night, is off the air. Yay. And I'm at home by then, on 50 stations around the country, because I went and leased a satellite on ISDN, in this bedroom that had children's wallpaper on the wall, this little hovel house. And I'm sitting there already reaching all these people. And by then I'm bringing $1 million a year. So I'm putting it into DVDs and films and an office and crew. And I just invested everything. I mean, I remember having $20,000 in the bank and buying a Mac computer and buying a camera that together cost 20 grand. And I ate ramen noodle for a week. That was 1997. So I did it the American way, bootstraps. And it was the best days of my life. But it was also the pleasure of these people thinking they'd taken me off the air when I had #1 ratings and they'd stole my sponsors. And I didn't care because I wanted the audience, and I learned to persevere through that. So when they took me off all these other things and I had my millions of listeners already tuning into me, it was what a joke, because I'm thinking long term. I'm knowing, okay, when they took me off, I said, soon they'll release a virus and lock you in your houses and make you wear a mask. And once they launch all that and do all that, know that once you comply with that, you're going to start getting sick. It's going to create me. And there's all these videos of me saying this. I didn't just make it up. I mean, I read Operation Lockstep.
Yep.
I said, they may do an internet crash, power outage statement. I said, we'll probably do the virus, because they agreed in their own white papers the virus is the way to go. They think we're animals. It's like an alien invasion force that drops its handbook on how it's going to invade you 20 years before. And so think of the globalists as psychotic aliens. They're basically like aliens. They're not really very human-like. Serial killers are their own, thing. So that's what I'm saying is it's like getting an alien transmission with their invasion plan 20 years before. And are you going to do something, or an asteroid's 20 years out? And the computers show it's going to hit Earth. It's 10 miles long, 2 miles wide. It's going to kill all life on Earth, or kill most of it for a decade. Do you go out and launch it, like the movies, to go out and blow it up with nuclear weapons, or do you just sit there and deny the asteroid's coming? So the asteroid was 20 years out. Now the first spurs of the asteroid are 6 months in front of it, just like the stupid movie. And it's coming. We already got hit. Major cities already got vaporized. There's already millions dead from these injections. I believe my opinion. I'm not a doctor. And so that's where this is going. They're testing killing you. They're testing to see if they can get away with it and normalize it. You're being depopulated. Act like you want to live, or they will kill you. It's a test. We're under a test.
Act like
and it's
you
this
wanna
right
live.
here that's going to keep it going, because they don't want conversations happening. They don't. That's why they're deplatforming people. That's why they're telling people stay at home, stay locked down, because they don't want people going to football games, going to these events where they'll actually talk to regular people, having these conversations, because that's how minds and hearts are changed.
Keep talking.
By the way, if that's your opinion, you're not a doctor. Be quiet.
That's right. Yes.
Or a psychologist.
Canada, we have clips in Canada and Australia and New Zealand saying we don't want people going out and talking because they'll disagree with the lockdown. That's on video.
Yeah.
You're right.
No, it is absolutely insane. And so I know you got to get running, so we don't want to keep you long, but you're welcome back. I mean, it's Gary's been, it took balls for Gary to have this on his channel. It did. And I'm going to say this before you leave, because I'll probably never get a chance to say this again at this moment. I'll text you later, Alex. I just had to say that. I'll text you later, Alex. The fact that I can talk to Alex.
I don't get the joke. I'm sick. What's that mean?
I'll shoot you a message later.
It means he's clout chasing. That's what it means.
I get the text Alex knows. That's what he's saying. So, look at that.
You guys don't need to clout chase. This ain't clout. This is fame. Yeah. You guys are kicking ass. Listen, please come on my show. Come to Texas if you want. And I do want to get you guys on the next week or two. We can come on and do 2-hour roundtable talk if you guys aren't too busy. So I appreciate you guys. Infowars.com, the Dreaded Evil channel. Remember, Zuckerberg 2 years ago in my next banning said you can only talk about me on Facebook if it's a negative connotation. So for them, let's bow down to them. And the behavioral psychologist, everyone say, fuck you, Alex Jones, you're scum of the earth.
Fuck you, Alex Jones, you're scum of the earth. I love very much.
And Fauci is God. Only Fauci speaks. Only the UN speaks. Take the shots. Take the shots. Take the shots. Take the shots.
Obey.
You guys.
Have a good
Take care, brother.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alex. Oh, yeah.
Crazy, dude.
Wonderful to have you.
Oh, my God.
Wonderful to have you.
Crazy.
Look at that. Walks off like a total Chad.
Walks off like a fucking Chad.
Total Chad, right? I'm out.
He didn't turn his back like Joe Biden. He walked off the stage like a goddamn.
Ladies and gentlemen, Alex Jones has left the building. Alex Jones has left the building.
Nerdrotic.com. Please subscribe.
If you like what I do here, please consider subscribing to the channel and liking and sharing the videos. It really does help. And if you did this with your favorite YouTuber as well, I'm sure they would appreciate it as much as I do.